In a bustling city where the skyline was punctuated by the silhouettes of office buildings, factories, and construction sites, the lives of its workers intertwined in a complex tapestry, each thread representing a unique story. Among them were individuals who, despite their dedication and hard work, found themselves battling the silent adversaries of occupational diseases. Take Sarah, for instance. A graphic designer by trade, she spent her days hunched over a computer screen, her fingers dancing across the keyboard as she brought her clients' visions to life. Initially, she loved her job, the creativity it demanded, and the satisfaction of seeing her designs come to fruition. However, as months turned into years, she began to notice an unsettling tingling sensation in her hands. At first, she dismissed it as fatigue, a mere consequence of long hours at the desk. But as the tingling morphed into sharp, shooting pains, she realized something was wrong. Sarah was diagnosed with carpal tunnel syndrome, a condition that occurs when the median nerve, which runs from the forearm into the palm of the hand, becomes pressed or squeezed at the wrist. The doctor explained the causes: repetitive motions, prolonged computer use, and poor ergonomics. Armed with this knowledge, Sarah attempted to modify her workspace, investing in an ergonomic keyboard and mouse, and even a standing desk. Yet, the pain persisted, a constant reminder of her limitations. Tasks that were once second nature became daunting challenges. Opening a jar, typing an email, or even holding a cup of coffee became exercises in endurance. The emotional toll was profound. The passion that once fueled her creativity was now overshadowed by frustration and anxiety. In another part of the city, Tom, a warehouse supervisor, faced his own struggles. His job required him to be on his feet for hours, lifting and moving heavy boxes, often without proper support. Over time, the strain of prolonged standing and awkward lifting took its toll on his back. He often felt a dull ache that gradually escalated into debilitating pain. Tom tried to push through, believing that toughness was a virtue, but there was no escaping the reality of his condition. His diagnosis was inevitable: chronic back pain, a common affliction among those in physically demanding jobs. The doctor recommended physical therapy and exercises, but Tom's schedule was relentless. He often found himself working late, sacrificing his health for the sake of productivity. The pain began to seep into every aspect of his life. Simple pleasures, like playing catch with his son or going for a weekend hike, became distant memories. Instead, he often found himself sitting on the edge of his bed, contemplating the toll his work was exacting on his body and spirit. The burden of his condition weighed heavily on him, not just physically, but emotionally, as he struggled with the fear of becoming a burden to his family. Meanwhile, across town, Maria, a factory worker, was grappling with a different challenge. Her workplace was a symphony of machinery, the constant hum and clatter a backdrop to her daily routine. Initially, she was excited to be part of a team that produced essential goods. However, over time, the relentless noise began to invade her life. She noticed that conversations became increasingly difficult, and she often found herself asking people to repeat themselves. Eventually, she sought medical advice, only to learn that she was experiencing early signs of noise-induced hearing loss. The diagnosis hit her hard. Maria had always been the life of the party, the one who could crack a joke and have everyone in stitches. Now she felt isolated, struggling to engage in conversations, her laughter fading into the background noise of her life. The workplace that had once felt so vibrant now seemed like a prison of sound. She was given earplugs and told to avoid loud areas, but the damage was done. Every day, she faced the challenge of navigating a world that felt increasingly distant. The laughter of her children, the chatter of friends, and even the simple joy of listening to music were becoming increasingly muted. Then there was James, who had spent years working in construction, a field that demanded physical strength and resilience. He loved the camaraderie of the job, the satisfaction of seeing a project come together. However, the exposure to dust, chemicals, and other hazardous materials began to take a toll on his lungs. He often found himself coughing, the sound echoing in the quiet moments of his day. After a series of tests, he was diagnosed with occupational lung disease, a condition that often afflicts those who work in environments with airborne pollutants. James was devastated. He had always prided himself on his physical prowess, but now he found himself short of breath, struggling to keep up with his coworkers. The very job that had given him purpose was now a source of anxiety. He worried about his future, about the possibility of being unable to provide for his family. The doctor advised him to consider a career change, but the thought of leaving a job he loved was unbearable. Each cough reminded him of the fragility of his health and the uncertainty of his path ahead. As these individuals navigated their respective battles with occupational diseases, their stories echoed a larger narrative about the impact of work on health. Each faced their own challenges, yet they shared a common thread of resilience. They sought to adapt, to find ways to reclaim their lives amidst the constraints of their conditions. Sarah learned to embrace breaks and practice mindfulness. Tom discovered the importance of asking for help. Maria sought support from her family to communicate better, and James became an advocate for workplace safety, determined to raise awareness about the risks his colleagues faced. In their struggles, they found not just pain, but also strength. They learned to lean on each other, sharing experiences and coping strategies, forging a community of support. Through their journeys, they illuminated the often overlooked reality of occupational diseases, a reminder that behind every statistic lies a human story, a life affected by the choices made in the pursuit of work. As they continued to navigate their challenges, they became not only survivors but also advocates for change, striving to create healthier work environments for themselves and future generations.